Three memorable moments for me was Elmire and Tartuffe's conversation starting at an hour 14:30. I anticipated a battle of two cons trying to fool each other into admitting some damning information, but Tartuffe was quick to give up his game and pursue Elmire. With Oregon under the table listening in, the consistent theme of how far can this really go is revealed once again in an uncomfortable way as Elmire desperately tries to call Oregon while fending off Tartuffe's advances. A next moment is Madame Purnell holding up a mirror to Oregon at an hour 33:20. Orgon now feels the frustration his family had felt by his unquestioning loyalty and devotion to Tartuffe, now reflected in Madame Purnell. For every accusation, there's a deflection of responsibility to an absurd degree, and it felt agonizing to go through that again, now from the perspective of Orgon, who's firmly convinced of Tartuffe's wretchedness. And the final moment was the monologue at an hour 46:03. So when all seemed hopeless and it appeared that evil was to triumph over good, a deus ex machina resolution to the family's dilemma is delivered from the man who glowed with a radiant aura not seen until this point in the story. At the end of the endeavor, the family is thanking God, which is fitting because the king that is referenced throughout the speech is analogous to the Christian God, with all the references to seeing into people's hearts and possessing perfect virtue. This strikes on the themes of religion and piety throughout the production as well. And for the Commedia dell'arte characters, I chose Doreen as playing the Columbina. Beginning at 17 minutes, she gets involved in the marriage conversation on Marianne's behalf, and my text will describe more into it, but I wrote down quite a lot. Um, but for instance, she was very useful to Marianne and um, Valier in getting them to um, quit their fighting and get refocused on the uh, proper goal of thwarting um, her father, I suppose, and who's deluded by Tartuffe, um, rescuing the situation at like 34:49 and letting off a big sigh of relief at 36 minutes and 22, indicating that she salvaged a really disastrous situation. As far as Marianne and Villiers themselves, I chose them for the Inamorti characters. This became obvious at 28 minutes and 56 seconds from Doreen's reaction to Valier's comment, a comment that marked an escalation in the conversation to a childish spat. And throughout this scene, they like demonstrate like just being very immature and emotional and doubling down and entrenching themselves into their positions. Um, yeah. There's a moment at 31 minutes where Valier goes wide-eyed and is so insulted, but clearly doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to appear weak, so he lingers around as they both continue to point the finger at each other and perpetuate this ridiculous situation. And at the 35-15 minute mark, um, they go in for a passionate kiss despite all that took place. And finally, I chose Orgon as playing the role of the Pantaloon. This was cemented for me with Orgon's reaction at 53 minutes and 30, uh, turning on uh, Damus for attacking Tartuffe's purity and virtue despite um, all everyone's surprise. And I go into this further, but my video is getting a little bit long, so I'll leave it at that.